Shall we start, Rima ma'am? Okay. Good morning, all. Before we start the session, there are few instructions that I would like to tell you. I would request all the participants to mute their mic and camera. Okay, all the participants are requested to be patient with technical glitches. Also, make sure for better connectivity, strength is there at your end. Any doubts and queries, you can post your query in the chat box or comment section. Uh, Also, please see to it that there are valid questions and queries that you are posting it, or any doubt or any clarification that you want to ask, you are posting in the comment or chat box. Feedback link will be posted at the end of the session, so please repeatedly do not ask for the same. We will definitely share the feedback link at the end of the session, and e-certificates will be given to you based on your attendance and participation within 7 working days. Okay. Once again, good morning, all honored speaker, coordinators, and faculties of other department, and my dear students. I am Ms. Kindle Sheikh, lecturer, faculty of BMMC department. On behalf of the principal, Dr. Shrikant Sawant, the chief education officer, Dr. Mala Khatkar, and the management, with immense pleasure indeed, welcome you all on this RUSA-sponsored national webinar SSFS Day 1, titled Production of Short Film, organized by the Department of Bachelor of Arts in Multimedia and Mass Communication of Patkar Varde College, an autonomous college affiliated with Mumbai University. Now I would request our principal, Sir Dr. Shrikant Sawant, to speak few words.
Thank you. Thank you, Kinjal. Very good morning and a very warm welcome to you all. This gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all on the occasion of this RUSA-sponsored national webinar on production of short films. Department of Multimedia and Mass Communication presents this RUSA-sponsored Silver Screen Film Society organizing national webinar on production of short films. It's our honor that our Chikitsak Samuhas, Sir Sitaram and Lady Shantabai Patkar, College of Arts and Science, and Patkar Varde College of Commerce and Economics, has organized this webinar. Our college was founded by Chikitsak Samuha, an association of like-minded individuals who were keenly interested in education. The college was named after Sir Sitaram Patkar, a distinguished judge of Bombay High Court, who was knighted after his retirement, and his wife, Lady Shantabai Patkar. Sir Sitaram was deeply interested in furthering the cause of women's education and was the Vice Chancellor of SNDT University for many years. The College of Arts and Science started functioning from the academic year 1964-65 and the Commerce section from the academic year 1980-81. To provide career-based education, the college started degree-level self-finance courses from the year 2000-2001. Since then, the college has constantly upgraded the courses offered and the infrastructure required for these courses to provide students the best possible learning opportunities. In keeping up the spirit of learning and growing through criticism, we have set up high standards, working continuously towards advanced goals. Many of our alumni hold very good positions in the various fields. Patkar Varde has a place of pride amongst the various education institutions in the western suburbs of Mumbai. Our college is re-accredited by NAC in its third cycle with A+ grade, securing 3.53 CGPA. Autonomy was confirmed on the college from the academic year 2019-20. We are ISO 9001-2015 certified and recipient of Best College Award by the University of Mumbai in the year 2016-17. We are Deputy Stars Awardee and RUSA 2.0 Award. India's Education Excellence Award 2018 Berkshire Media LLC USA ranked us. Education World in India ranked our college 45th in India and 10th in Maharashtra among us the best private autonomous colleges. On this occasion, this gives me immense pleasure to welcome our honorable speaker, honorable guest, Mr. Aranya Sahay, independent filmmaker who has worked as editor, worked as director for many short films and feature films. This gives me again immense pleasure to welcome on the occasion Sri Kishore Rangnekar sir, our Chikitsak president, Sri Rajesh Desai sir, vice president, Dr. Gurunath Pandit, joint secretary, Sri Girish Amonkar, joint treasurer, and all the office bearers of Chikitsak Samuha. It also gives me immense pleasure to welcome Malak Harkar, CEO. The webinar is organized by Multimedia and Mass Communication Department, and Rima Cordas and her team is organizing this program. On this occasion, once again, I would like to welcome you all, and no doubt this webinar will give you much inputs. You will learn number of skills because our eminent speaker will surely give us insight how to make short film. Thank you very much on this occasion. Thank you.
Hello, hi everyone. A very good morning to all of you. Thank you so much, sir, for such a warm introduction. And I would like to thank all faculty and students who have invited me to speak. It is indeed an honor to be speaking to all of you. I would just like to know if I'm audible, if somebody can write in the comment section if everything is fine. All right. I think things are fine. My name is Aranya. I am a filmmaker and a practicing musician since 2015. I've been able to do a couple of short films on my own independently. Then I went on to study at the Film and Television Institute of India, Pune. And I'm really, really happy to be speaking to students of mass communication today because I think it's right in your graduation that you start, that things start opening up because you're till graduation, you're with your family, our notions of society and polity are a certain way, and only in our graduation do things open up. So I'm really happy to be a part of that time, and I hope this session really makes sense to you. I wanted to talk about, I wanted to begin actually from the middle of this discussion. This discussion about filmmaking, short films, feature films, and narrative films and non-narrative films. You know, our notions about cinema are heavily governed by what we watch from our childhood, are heavily governed by what we see in the pop culture, what we see on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. YouTubers have come up, filmmakers. It's a wonderful space to be because there's so much energy and so much happening constantly. But there is, like, as people who want to dwell into cinema and as people who eventually want to make films and who want to have a voice of their own. It is somehow, when I had started studying, I felt that there was a need to step back to see what what I was looking at when I was looking at a film, or when I was looking at a play, or when I was looking at a piece of music. What is it that was driving me, and if something that I liked was born out of conditioning, as in what I said about films that we've seen from our childhood, and you know stuff like that. So I would start from the middle of this discussion with something something called dreams. I don't i don't mean that you dream of being a filmmaker someday. No, I mean the literal idea of dreams. um, you know uh, a lot of times, if you look at dreams, if you remember any of your dreams, do you remember things being logical? Do you remember things ever being in chronology? Random things start to come and go, and they don't make sense, and they make sense, and sometimes only make sense once we wake up, and sometimes they don't make sense at all. That's why if we're speaking to a psychologist, we tell them, a therapist or a psychologist, we tell them what our dream was, and they help us interpret it. But there is necessarily no logic. You may be, for example, I have had a dream where I could fly from the top of a building, and then somebody who I know joins me when I'm flying. We have a whole conversation when I'm flying with them, and then I end up in a cement factory, and then I end up in some other factory. There's no logic, because our brain does not necessarily function in logic. We as human beings want to make sense of everything. We want to make sense of why what is happening at a certain time, cause and effect. If I don't work well, then I'm going to be scolded. If I don't reach on time, then it may cause something. If I work hard, then I will succeed. These are logic set by human beings onto themselves in the world that we live in. But our subconscious does not really adhere to these rules, you know. And because our subconscious does not adhere to these rules, cinema becomes extremely exciting, because cinema is the closest art form that comes to seeing a dream. Um, Sometimes, I'll show you a couple of clips which are from films of some filmmakers that I really admire. uh, how they may not make sense to you as they're happening, but you may be able to feel that you're kind of present there. You may be able to see that you are you can sense it because there's life in it. So I want to start with a clip of a film called Post Tenebras Lux. It's a film by a filmmaker, one of my favorite filmmakers. His name is Carlos Regadas. So I'll be showing my screen to you. Just give me a minute, please. Okay. Okay, so my screen is visible to you. I hope it is. I said this yesterday. This screen looks like a little bit like Inception, screen within a screen within a screen. So this film that I'm going to show you right now, it's called Post Tenebras Lux. It's by a filmmaker called Carlos Regadas. This is the opening sequence. We'll just watch it. It's a 6-8 minute clip, and we'll discuss it. We'll come to the idea of dreams, and then we'll come to the idea of memory and how it is associated with cinema. Okay, I would have loved to go on with the clip because the filmmaker intends for it to be longer, but we have a small time. If you see that clip, there is a sense of you being present there. When we think of dreams, they come like this. We feel like we're in them, like they are really a part of our live, like we are living them when they come to us. The same thing happens when we go into a theater which is completely black, and we sit almost like cavemen. We sit in a cave and we see something being projected in front of us, and we 30 people see the same dream together. And that is why cinema is so impactful, it is so visceral. It has that really stimulating impact on our brain. So I want to talk what I want to refer to by talking in this section is the recognition that the cinema that we watch currently, a lot of you may watch Netflix, Amazon Prime, or would be watching films on in film theaters when they were open and like when one could go before the pandemic. There is it it is it may be a little away from the basic nature of cinema, which is completely different images coming together and making sense to you. It may have those elements, but what starts happening is that the films that we watch, all of our favorite films, like from last year, you may have liked Gully Boy, or you may have liked Hansel Mehta's show that just came out on Scam. We are extremely narrative driven people, so we have taken elements from literature, which is narrative, which is a start, a middle, and end, plot. This happens, that happens, this happens, that happens, and then we have applied it to cinema. There's nothing wrong with it, but somebody for students, especially for people who are just stepping into the realm of studying films, it's important to take a step back and recognize that maybe this is not the only thing. It is one of the things, and somewhere recognizing that cinema could also mean what I just showed you. Cinema could be dreams, memories. Memories I'll come to in a minute, but they could also be illogical putting together of two completely different images. Um, isn't it? Isn't it kind of like? Isn't it amazing to have an art form which reaches, which can replicate our subconscious? Uh, that brings me to the idea of memories. This clip that I showed you is actually, I think, the filmmaker is has taken out a memory that he has from his childhood and has tried to replicate it. And it's the filmmaker's daughter, Carlos Regadas's daughter, and it's amazing. If it's a memory, what it meant to him, the sounds, each cowbell, each dog barking, the child saying cow, dog, stop, no, all those things that was so potent when he might have dreamed it, or when he might have lived it as a kid, jiski memory he may not even have as a strong yeah, he's able to put it on screen. And you and I sitting here in some part of the world are able to share his memory without really seeing the logic कि अब क्या हो रहा है, इसके बाद क्या हो रहा है, उसके बाद क्या हो रहा है, just being there and seeing how things are happening. When we're living life, for example, when we're playing football or something, do we see that इसके बाद मुझे ये करना है, उसके बाद मुझे वो करना है? It is happening and you are in it, you are living it, right? So this makes me come to another thing which is fundamental to cinema, which is time. Now, you are sitting in, some of you may be sitting in Bombay, some of you are sitting elsewhere. I'm sitting in a cold morning of Delhi. We are interacting at the same time, you know, but our realities are different, but they're at the same time. Cinema is one of the only mediums that can replicate time like that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm here talking to you. My father is passing from in front of my laptop. You are there. Your mother might be talking to you right behind when, if your camera is off, and we are having that this thing is happening at the same time in two places, and I can I can represent this in a film. Now, how can I represent this in a film? It's very important to recognize that. It is very, very important to recognize that this forms reality. Reality is not just what is in front of us, reality is the entirety of everything that is happening. But we as an individual, I as an individual, am not able to see what is happening in the playground which is next to me. But as a film, as somebody who could take a step away from my life and who could fly up in the sky, would maybe able to see what I am doing and what is happening in the field next to me. It's the presence of time. Time is one, realities are different, but it is important to recognize that reality exists in the same time. And dreams and memories are part of the same experience of reality. They are not away from. They are not away from. They're not away from reality in any way. We are made of our experiences of time. We are made of our experiences of dreams. We are made of our experiences of memories. So that brings me to another clip by the same filmmaker, Carlos Regadas. Um, and after this, I'm going to progress a little to the history of filmmaking, which will clear these ideas for you a lot more.
Ojalá pueda dormir. I know you will. Hasta mañana, Phil. Hasta mañana.
Okay, so you saw that there was one reality of the lady who's playing um, the instrument. There's one reality of the audience. There's one reality of the person who's in a room where it's playing on a screen, and at the same time, same presence of time, there is a helicopter which is passing. There is a corridor which where you can, you know, broadly hear that the thing is happening, and at the same time there are people walking in streets. And the beauty of recognizing this and representing it in cinema, it's amazing. It's amazing, and it opens up our minds uh, to the idea that we are beyond ourselves. You know, we exist. I'm here, but I exist along with you existing wherever you are. This brings me to some history of films. First and foremost, like some of you may have, ma'am had told me that that are some of you may have studied some history of cinema, but some of you may not have. So I would like to go through it. I would like to play a clip from the foremost duo who was able to not only shoot but also project films. And their name was Lumiere brothers. It is said that they are the pioneers, first people to actually get things on screen. So check this clip out. It's a I'll talk about it once we're done with the clip. It's a small clip. It's an interesting clip. This again is Lumiere brothers. So you saw that one. These are for the first images to ever be recorded on film. and you know how they are static, like there is no movement of the camera. That's because the equipment was also not designed like that initially. And there was also a tendency, because people had only seen visuals in theater, theater in the sense that art form of drama and theater, where people are coming and एक ही frame में there's like a there's like a long kind of a view, like you are sitting far away and in front of you you can see some people coming, sitting down, talking, etc., going back. So camera was placed like that, like you are the viewer and you are seeing the um, things happen in front of you. You are not cutting anywhere, like you're not cutting to their close up, you're not cutting to anything else that is happening. But as film went ahead, like as the development of film went ahead, which is not in, like the development happened in no time, this might have been like 1895. The next big step that happened in film was the recognition of editing, the recognition of a cut, which had like implications which are far reaching, like you can join two shots and make sense of it. It has informed everything, like everything, our self perception today is from that. So I'll show you a clip by a filmmaker called Edwin S. Porter. He made a film called The Great Train Robbery, and he was the first guy who put two things together, and see what a revolution that is. Just the idea that two things can come together and it can make sense, like, and that begins our journey into the aspect of film being a dream. And yet it goes away from the idea of being a dream because it evolves into money making business, and people have to make sense of things, so they start putting images which are closer to meaning to each other together. But it's important to show this because this was one of the first, I think the first. Okay. So I would just of course happens, but at the time just imagining two things together happening in front of us, which may not be joined by anything but time. I thought, like, they stop a train, they get onto the train, they get inside the train, then they die. It's a thought. They, you can even in these shots you can see how the impact of the theater and drama is visible. Like, um, it's deeply far away. There's a long shot. People moving. There's no cut closer and anything like that. So it was a revolution, back then. It's important to know this film because it was one of the first, and it created cinema in one way. All of these films to film Russia, who this Edwin S. Porter's film, which I just showed you, was 1903. Russian filmmakers started functioning around the same time as that. They were Soviet filmmakers back then. No, not Soviet yet. They became Soviet after 17. And you see that there's another marked shift in filmmakers. Doing shots which meant some meaning correlated. Completely different shots together and making so much. And that's where the idea of really comes into cinema. So, battleship and this is the step sequence. I'll just show a little bit of it. And I would head on to some these four things: the shot, the idea proposed by Russians, and then there was another idea which was proposed by French filmmakers. Hi, am I audible now? Okay. Thanks, Siddhant. So where did I stop? Where did the internet kind of freeze? Can someone point out right before I showed the clip, or during the clip being shown? Okay, before the clip. Okay. So I was talking about this film, mm, The Great Train Robbery, and what it did with respect to uh, joining two shots together, two images together to make sense, you know. But the only thing about that was that it was kind of um, it was in continuous, like continuity. People were something is happening here, उसके बाद ये हो रहा है, उसके बाद वो हो रहा है. Then we saw a bunch of filmmakers from Russia and later Soviet Union who joined images together which didn't have a progression, and yet they made sense and they created reality. And that is where the idea of dreams gets solidified, you know. So I'm going to show you a clip from a Russian filmmaker called Sergei Eisenstein, and it's a really famous clip. Every film school always shows this. It's a sequence called the Odessa step sequence. A little context of the film: the film was produced by the government there, and it was to depict a part of the Russian revolution's uh, um, uh, emotion of revolution, and people standing up for themselves, and people taking power back to themselves from people who had it and didn't have. And so here is that clip. I'll just start the clip again. I hope I'm like this is audible and visible properly now. Okay, thank you. So I'm sharing my screen. Okay, hi. So you
It
saw.
was the movie that brought Soviet cinema to the attention of the world.
Sorry, 1 minute.
The favorite movie of both.
You saw how these are interconnected, right? It's like it's not connected in continuity. कि इसके बाद ये हुआ, उसके बाद वो हुआ. It's connected in thought. It's connected in time, the experience of time. Like there's a repetition. To enhance a feeling, there's repetition. To enhance a thought, there's a repetition. There's repetition. Um, there's shots being used once and being used at another point in the sequence, and there is a flow of events that's happening at the same time. So this is what is called the montage. What we were talking about when we were talking when we were talking about the previous film, which is Great Train Robbery, is the idea of continuity. ये हुआ, continuity, something else happens, continuity, something else happens. It's joined by a movement, or it's joined by in montage. You're joining not connected shots together, and you're making sense. The shot of the ship is another shot. The shot of people coming and waving to the ship is another shot. The shot of the guys coming down is one shot. The shot of the mother seeing the sun is another shot. The sun following, people stamping on his hands, and these are different shots which may not or may happen in continuity, but they are put together as individual. If you separate these shots, they would kind of not they may make sense to you individually also, but when you put them together, then it makes a whole new meaning. So Russians devised what is known as montage. Now the French devised what is known as the jump cut. It's essential to films and filmmaking and the process of filmmaking. I'm just going to show you one small clip from a film called Breathless. We don't have much time. It's a film by a filmmaker called Jean-Luc Godard. And I mean, if please, I would request you to go back and see these films on your own, because things start opening up from here, and then one can start moving towards Indian cinema, which I will come to after this. So this is called Breathless. It's the ending clip of Breathless. Now you may have seen how shots are interconnected in thought, And that same principle applies here. But here, what they're doing is they are not even using, they are using interconnected shots, but they are reducing. For example, if I'm here, if I'm getting up and going elsewhere, then there's another shot of me standing in front of a painting. They would, the what the jump cut would do is, I'm here, I look at the painting, and then they would cut to a place where I've already looked and I'm exiting, looking at the after looking at the painting. So they would start when I'm exiting the frame after looking at the painting. So they've kind of removed that important chunk of time, but it still makes sense. Our mind still makes sense about the whole thing. So this is Jean-Luc Godard. I mean, what can one say? It's insane. It's amazing the way he's shot things and what he devised. And yeah.
Perrotti! Salut amigo, attends, je t'arrête. Fous le camp, les flics arrivent dans 5 minutes. Argent. Fous le camp, la petite américaine m'a dénoncé. Non, moi je reste, pas avec toi. Pas le qu'on grappe là-dedans. Non, je reste. Oui, j'en ai marre. Fatigué. J'ai envie de dormir. Tu es complètement dingue, allez monte. Non, la police m'en fout sur ma tête. Ce qui m'ennuie en ce moment, c'est que je devrais pas penser à elle, et j'y arrive pas. Tu veux vendre automatique? Non. Je te dis de pas faire le con. Fous le camp!
So you saw how the guy is kind of shooting, and when the guy shoots, this guy is already hit by it and he's running away. So you've taken out time, and it still makes sense, because our minds are like that, because our subconscious is like that. It does not need linear progression, and that is where again dreams come in. Pritesh has asked something. Sorry, Pritesh. Is this the Twinkle Twinkle Little Star song? I have no idea, man. I don't think it is. Okay. All right. I'll come back to it now. So we were on jump cuts. So you see the language two shots coming together in flow, continuity, two shots coming together which are not interrelated, montage, and two shots where you're kind of sucking out time. It's jump cuts. These form the language of cinema. There's a lot more language, but I'm purely talking about editing, which is fundamental to filmmaking. Cinema is about capturing something and cutting it with another shot. But yeah, I'll have you guys what's happening again? Am I losing connection? Again, is it happening, guys? Okay. So where did you guys? I mean, okay, I'll repeat it. So you guys saw the clip. Just say a yes, Siddhant, if you can, in the chat, because I'm not on the YouTube feed. Okay. So you saw that you can take out time when the guy is shooting, and the guy who's being shot at has already been shot at and he's running away. So you are taking out the time of him being shot and like getting hurt and then running away. So he's running away already. So you are taking out time. So these four things form language of cinema. Predominantly, of course, there are several other things, but predominantly they form the language of cinema, which is so similar to dreams, which is so similar to memories which we remember, which are hazy. We don't remember ki iske baad kya hua, uske baad kya hua. We remember feelings, we remember small images. The four things that are, again, I'll repeat it for you: a short, continuity shot where two things are put together, flowing from one place, like flowing in. कि इसके बाद ये हुआ, उसके बाद वो हुआ. Then the idea of a montage, two shots which don't make sense together, they're put together and they make sense. Then the idea of the jump cut, where two shots which, this is happening after this is happening, you take out time and you kind of cut awkwardly and it still makes sense to us because our subconscious is programmed like that. We, from the childhood, we see scenes like that in our dreams. So this is something which is fundamental to films. Coming to Indian cinema, I don't think we have the time to show a lot of stuff because they are fantastic stuff. But Dadasaheb Phalke started around almost at the same time as Birth of a Nation, which is a Great Train Robbery. Ke baad, the first feature which had come in the world was Birth of a Nation by a filmmaker called D.W. Griffith. D.D. Phalke was the first Indian to make a film. Lanka Dahan was one of his films. Raja Harishchandra was the first feature film that was made. And you can see, the language of cinema is developing on its own in different parts of the world on its own at the same time. It has influence of theater. It has influence of people viewing it. It has influence of literature also, but it is developing in its own way. The only thing is that we need to like step back and recognize, okay, this exists. Even today, like you have to recognize that this exists. It's not just about story. A film is not just about story. A film is not just about sequence of events. It is about this experience of time. It's about this experience of a feeling, which is depicted through these tools that I've just discussed with you. I'll show you a little bit. I'll not show you a clip, but I'll show you some stuff about D.D. Phalke. Okay, is this working? Can I just get a yes? Is my stream working right now? Okay, thanks.
We see it happen everywhere, at any time. 78.
So you guys saw that was a small clip. How our film started by depicting mythology. The famous story of Krishna stealing butter and makhan from and getting scolded by his mother, and it's beautifully like there's some beautiful correlations. How we see our dreams, how we look at mythology when we imagine you look when you are a kid and your mother or your nani or your dadi or your father or your grandfather is narrating a story to you, or a mythological story to you. The way you imagine it is so, it may not be, without even having seen a film, it may be weird different images, and these images, when you put together like in this film, it feels like it's our own. Like that's why films feel like they are our own medium. They're everything that we have lived and everything we will ever be. And yeah, and then in history of Indian cinema there is the greats, the absolute greats, Gurudutt, Satyajit Ray. I wish we had the time to talk about them. Ritvik Ghatak, Rinal Sen, and how they had their own language. They, as Indian filmmakers, we had our own language. Even though we were looking at narrative filmmaking, we had a distinct language of our own, and we should uh, take pride in that without, and also see its relations with the films that were being made at that time. Bimal Roy, oh my god. If you look at the filmmaking, if you look at the last sequence of Dobiga Zameen, where he's running, the climax where he's been asked to run. I don't know if you guys have seen Dobiga Zameen. It's a story of a farmer whose land is at stake, and he goes to Calcutta to earn some money. And the last sequence is where in Calcutta there are still these hand and human run rickshaws, and it's so dehumanizing that he is made to run like an animal, and he's like कि मैं तुमको और पैसे दूंगा और, and he keeps increasing, and वो भागता जा रहा है और उस रिक्शा का जो ये है what do you call it, चक्का, the wheel is breaking, and it's the way Bimal Roy has cut between his face and the wheel. The guy who's like chalo mane, he's almost like hitting him with the hunter of money, and I can show it to you. I can show that clip to you.
कल वाली हार ने दिल तो
Just give me a minute. I'm just looking for the clip.
तोड़ दिया. कोई नहीं, नया दिन है. आज पे फोकस करते हैं. ये ले श्रुति, कोलगेट मैक्स फ्रेश.
Nice. Okay, so I'm loading the clip.
चल जल्दी चल. मिली सुनो. जल्दी चल. जल्दी चल. उसके पीछे चल. जल्दी जल्दी. अरे जल्दी चल जल्दी चल. और जल्दी. और जल्दी. और तेज. और जल्दी. दूर गया. तो है बाबू. हाँ. और तेज चला ना. अच्छा बाबू. अरे जल्दी चला. चल चल. 4 रुपये दूंगा. 4 रुपये बाबू. 5 रुपये दूंगा. 6 रुपया. 6 रुपया. जल्दी चल. और तेज. और तेज.
बाबा, इतनी रात हो गई, बापू अभी तक क्यों नहीं लौटे?
Did you see that? Did you see how those shots were put together to create that emotional impact? And this is one of our filmmakers, you know. And yeah, so with that, I would like to close a little bit of the things that I was talking about. I would show you a little bit of my work. It's a documentary that I worked on. I'd show you that, and then we can start having discussions. And I'm completely fine with speaking to you for more than 12:30 also, because I mean it's a discussion and I would love to have it. So we can talk after that as well. So here is my film. It's called Songs for Baba Saheb. I made it when I was at FTI. Can everybody see? Is it clear? Just please write yes again, Siddhant. Thanks. Okay.
भीमराजा रे मया भीमा भीमराजा रे मया भीमा माझा भीम मले भेट तो बाई मले सांग तो काय मले सांग तो काय मले सांग तो काय मले सांग तो काय मले
Why do we sing for Baba Saheb? And by singing, I don't mean the literal act of singing, but why do we sing, write, dance, or express in any form for Baba Saheb?
मनसुद्ध तुझं गोष्ट हाय पृथ्वी मुलाची, तू चाल पुढं तुला रे गड्या भीती कशाची, परवा कुणाची, तो झेंड्या भल्या कामाचा जो घेऊन निघाला, वाट मध्ये काच बीजे पोचती त्याला, रगत निघल तरी बी हसल शाबास केची, रगत निघल तरी बी हसल शाबास केची, तू चाल पुढं तुला रे गड्या भीती कशाची, परवा कुणाची.
हम क्यों गाते हैं बाबा साहेब के लिए?
कठीण आहे सांग, पण तरी मी तर यासाठी गातो कारण की मला प्रेरणा भेटते, मला समोर जाण्याची प्रेरणा भेटते. असं वाटते की ती झुंज जी आहे ती पण माझ्यामध्ये आहे आणि त्याला मी आतमधून एक म्हणतो ना आपण, एक कॉल द्यावा लागतो आपल्याला. तर तो कॉल देण्यासाठी ती गाणे ती मदत देते, तो झुंज करण्यासाठी आणखी पॉवर मिळते.
कोई कहानी है बाबा साहेब की जो याद हो?
एक भीमयानमध्ये एक आहे की ज्याच्यामध्ये ना लहानपणी ते शाळेत असताना सगळ्या वर्गामध्ये असताना ते आपल्या ग्रुप पासून वेगळे राहायचे. एकदा क्लास चालू असतानाच त्यांनी हात वरती केल्याने सरांना म्हटलं, सर मला पाणी पिण्यासाठी परवानगी पाहिजे. तर ते म्हणाले की, जे रागवलं त्यांनी की क्लासच्या मदत कशाला, पाणी बेल झाल्यानंतर तुझं पाणी पी. तर ते म्हणाले की सर पाणी नंतर पिण्यासाठी आम्ही जातो बेल वाजल्यानंतर नळाजवळ, पण जेव्हापर्यंत त्यांची वेळ येते तेव्हापर्यंत पिऊन घरी चालला जातो आणि त्यांना स्वतः नळ उघडून पाणी पिण्याची परवानगी नाही. ते म्हणाले की बरोबर आहे, तू महार आहेस, स्वतःकडे बघितलं की केस किती मोठे आहे, असं वाटते जसं साताऱ्यातले सर्व नावी गेले आहेत. तू जर आपले केस कमी करशील तर तुझी तहान कमी होईल. ते म्हणाले की साताऱ्यातले नावी त्यांची केस कापून होतात दूर, त्यांना हात देखील नाही राहणार ना.
The most oppressed communities feel discriminated against mostly in the stomach. Like that's how we all have to live. What I do is when I look at a Dalit autobiography, so none of these are here right now, but if I look at a Dalit autobiography, I mark out every time the writer speaks about food, and then I take these paragraphs and I turn it into like a second person. From a first person account, I turn it into a second person account, and I break it down to make it sound like a recipe. So if Lakshman Gaikwad was talking about him and his father breeding rats in their house and then letting the rats into a field of wheat and then getting the rats to collect the wheat and store them in their own rat holes, and then after the harvest is over, going into the rat holes and taking out all the wheat that the rats had stored. And this was all done just so that they didn't have to steal it directly, because stealing the wheat directly could end up in being killed for this.
सकाळच्या पारी पाटलाच्या दारी, सकाळच्या पारी पाटलाच्या दारी, शेणाच्या कामाला जाते शेणाच्या कामाला जाते रे शेणाची भाकरी खाते
शेणाच्या कामाला जाते रे शेणाची भाकरी खाते रे शेणाच्या कामाला जाते रे शेणाची भाकरी खाते
शेणाची भाकरी खाते रे शेणाच्या कामाला जाते रे
शेणाची भाकरी खाते रे शेणाच्या कामाला जाते
आहो फुटकी पाटी शेणाची भरीन फळ 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 चुकते तरी चढते तरी चढते तरी चढते तरी चढते तरी तशाच पाट्या वाहते र पण शेणाच्या कामाला जाते र शेणाची भाकरी खाते
शेणाच्या कामाला जाते रे शेणाची भाकरी खाते रे शेणाच्या कामाला जाते रे शेणाची भाकरी खाते रे।
जो ब्राह्मणिकल हेजिमनी था इसको बाबा साहब अम्बेडकर ने एक अल्टरनेटिव किया, बुद्ध का अल्टरनेटिव किया और डेमोक्रेसी का अल्टरनेटिव किया। तो डेमोक्रेसी बहुत काम किया है आज के जमाने में कि जो भी दबे कुचले हुए सब लोग थे जो बौद्ध धर्म के साथ में जुड़ी थे नहीं जुड़ी थे, लेकिन वो सारे लोग जागरूक हो गए, पढ़ने लगे। तो ये काउंटर अटैक था और पढ़ने के बाद में क्वेश्चन पूछने लगे। हम पूछते हैं अरे हराची काढ करून काढला खाणीतून कोळसा खोकून आमचा जीव गेला नि भरला तुझा खिसा तवा बदमाशा कळला नव्हता का धर्म आमचा ओ दादा रे तवा तू कसं विचारलं नाही की आमची जात कंची आहे आमचा धर्म कंचा आहे आमची जात कंची आहे आमचा धर्म कंचा आहे।
बाबासाहेब म्हणतात हे भूमी हे भूमाते हा सूर्याचा प्रकाश सगळ्यांना समान आहे। असं काय आहे टाटा बिर्ला अंबानीच्या घरात जास्त जातो आणि आमच्या घरात कमी येतो सूर्यप्रकाश असं काय आहे का नाही। हा वारा सगळ्यांना समान आहे, हा वारा समान आहे, हे सूर्यप्रकाश समान आहे, मग ही जमीन सगळ्यांना समान का नाही। एखाद्याच्या सातबाऱ्यावर हजारो एकर आणि एखाद्याच्या सातबाऱ्यावर एक गुंठाही नाही। ही परिस्थिती काय आहे। बाबासाहेब प्रश्न विचारतात की आमच्या माणसांना जमीन का नाही। आई भूमीला म्हणतो बाबाई नदी काठानं धुंदी आई पाय ठेवायला जमीन का नाही। वनवास नामाचा 14 वर्ष बाई आमचा वनवास जन्माचा बाई वनवास जन्माचा बाई त्याच आहे का कुणाला काही भीम धुन सांगतो बाई मागून मिळणार नाही
मागून घेणार नाही मागून घेणार नाही मागून घेणार नाही मागून घेणार नाही वाट पाहते 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 वाट पाहते।
जयदीप, आज या ठिकाणी आपण इथे डॉक्टर बाबासाहेब आंबेडकरांची 129वी जयंती साजरी करत आहोत।
Why do you think we sing at all?
आमच्याजवळ काय आहे? माणसांजवळ काय आहे कलेशिवाय? आपण जे पण फील करतो, राग म्हणा, द्वेष म्हणा, घृणा, भक्ती घेऊन घ्या, प्रेम घेऊन घ्या, आपण कलेतूनच हे सगळं व्यक्त करू शकतो, बोलू शकतो, पोचवू शकतो.
नवकोटीचा राजा अरे रा 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 निनाद माझा चला पूजा कर पूजा ग.
Okay. So I would like to open up the session to some questions and answers. I'm right here. So please, let's have a discussion. And can I request the team who's managing the webinar, can I request them to can I see the faces of students who I've been talking to for 2 hours? I would love to speak to them. No, is there no way that I can see them in video? I mean, the comment section is very impersonal, so as to say. If I can have no, it's not visible. I can see the comment section. I mean, but there aren't many questions there. How can we speak like a normal video chat, like one does in Zoom? Can we do that? Anybody who wants to ask something, we can talk about films and we can talk about stuff. So I'm right here. Siddhant, can you help with this? I can read comments, but they're mostly yes, 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 yes. Yes, sir. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. So he's asked for a minute. We'll figure it out. I mean, till then, like summing up what we've seen the language of cinema, how it's related to dreams, how it's related to the realization of time, Yeah, it could remind you of Roma. What was the inspiration? The inspiration happens to be everything that you see around you. Like for me, it is seeing unequal access to things, to the same resources that I have, that someone may not have. The realization that I have privilege. And the very fact that despite systematic inequality, human beings decide to fight that by the means of art, by the means of music, poetry. I think that really, really inspired me. So that's it. I hope that answers your question, Pritesh. Anybody else? I would love to see you guys, man. Like, this is so impersonal. Thanks, Adish. Okay, Nikita has asked, what makes a great film for you? I think what I spoke about, the presence, the idea of presence, something that I can, when I go into a theater and I can feel like I'm a part of it, something that makes me feel like I'm experiencing it like it's my own. You know, in the aspect of time, like I'm sitting here and I'm a part of this time right now. So anything that makes me feel like that, I am able to, I just love it. I feel like that makes for a great film for me. For other people, it may be other stuff. That's why these films that I showed at the beginning, for me, they're great films because they are they're about what makes us human. You know, whatever. Actually, yeah, that answers the question better. What makes us human? What makes us human is the realization of, you know, what in Hindi there's a word called Vivek, and there's the idea of cognition that this is time. I have a mind of my own. Um, I have I have the sense to make sense of things around me and remember it. I remember the feeling of it. So any film that does that for me, that feeling of it explores something which is uniquely human being, like human, I love. So thanks. I hope that answers your question, Nikita. So how was your experience? What you learned while making this documentary? Oh, that I learned a lot here. Like starting from the fact that I was so moved by this tradition of Shahiri about protesting with art that I felt like it's my own. And that's why I say, why do we sing for Baba Saheb? Because by that time, I wanted to sing for him. I wanted to sing about him. I wanted to sing about the things that people were singing. And that's why I made the film. Like, and what does art do for us? You know, it makes us human. It makes us see things which we would have missed out. And yeah, it made me learn that fundamental thing about how music and art can be used for protest and for a deeply political thing. Technically, I learned a lot about sound design. Like I had an instinct because I've had a background in music, but I learned a lot about carrying things, like carrying a shot from another shot over the same layer of sound. It really works. If you guys can try it. So I hope that answers your question. We have a lot of questions now, so I'll answer one by one. Hello, Netra. Do you think a film institute is necessary to become? No, not at all. I mean, I can say that after going to film school, but I wouldn't have said that earlier. So it's for you to decide. But uh, film schools do one thing: they make you aware of the kinds of films that are and how inadequate you are. And sometimes that inadequacy is very good because it propels you to make things, I feel. And yeah, it's a completely wonderful space. So if you get through a film school, take it. Don't be like, अरे इसमें 3 साल लग जाएंगे, इसमें 4 साल लग जाएंगे. Any art form requires at least 3 to 4 years of training. Like music, people say, अरे अभी तैयार नहीं हुआ है. For example, in classical music, people say that for a person for 8 years. So cinema can go on for at least 4 years, right? So okay, we have. I hope that answers your question, Omkar. What advice would you give to any student who's aspiring to be a director, filmmaker, wants to get shared in the same, started in the same? Just watch. Like I would say before you go, it sucks. It's a soul sucking work. It really, really can take all of your energy and life. So it's better to watch and learn and study and do all of these things first. Watch, read, watch films, filmmakers from different cinema movements, different things that I kind of discussed in the session today. Just watch filmmakers. Pick up films which are not mainstream. Try and see what is happening in the world cinema space. Just watch films. I feel like anybody can make a film if they watch films. In fact, anybody can make one film without even watching films, but it may not be able to go beyond that. One gets stuck by our own conditioning. What were your difficulties on one day during this whole process, and what have they taught you? Difficulties were, it's a very difficult process to make a film. As I said, it's a soul-sucking process. It's like a call to adventure. Like nothing goes right. Things always go wrong. So because things always go wrong, you have such a wonderful story to tell later, and it's not predictable at all. Like how a shoot can go, how a film can be turned out from a script stage to a film stage. It's amazing, like that. Depicting, Adish has said, depicting two simultaneous situations at the same time. Okay. What do you mean by that, Adish? Can you, Adish? Sorry, I'm so sorry. I've been pronouncing your name as Adish for this while. Adisha. Adisha, can you kind of put in the comment box what you mean by that, depicting two simultaneous scenes? If it's a question, like we can discuss it. While picking up any topic related to social issues, which is more expressive way to convey the story, short film or documentary, up to you. It can be anything. There's no rule for that. Were there any major influences that urge you to start in this field? Yeah, I mean, I think I started watching films when I was a kid because of my father. He made me watch Do Bhi Zameen back then, like when I was 9-8 years old, and we had a projector at home, and I think that pushed me. So if filmmaker per se, like when I was in class 11, I think a little before that, I saw Udaan, and I think that pushed me to feel like, it really impacted me, and I was like, okay, I must I must see that where I can go through with this. Okay. Then So yeah, Vikramaditya Motwane initially, and then Carlos Regadas right now. He makes me feel like more and more to explore myself and to make films. And then obviously Guru Dutt. I mean, Bimal Roy, Guru Dutt, Ritvik Ghatak. It was more like I'm actually watching thing on my own. I was not like movie which is scripted. It was just so real thing. You're talking about the documentary? Thank you. What thing motivated you to be in this field, and what all you learned from this field? I think I answered this. What is your view about old time editing and current time? Well, that's a good question. Old time editing, you can't define old time editing because everything that was depicted that I discussed with you about Russian filmmakers, for example, the interrelated cuts and like using shots that are put together without having a direct meaning, all of that is used today in ads, in films, in ads, and so what was discovered back then is still used now. The only thing is that because our attention spans have kind of reduced, I feel like somewhere we want to see a cut quicker. We want to see a cut like we see it in ad films. You know, जल्दी जल्दी आते हैं shots, जाते हैं, कहानी निकल गई. But ऐसा था नहीं. You know, you could take a lot more time with a shot in older films. And still slow. There's a genre called slow cinema. It still does that, which is what world cinema is all about. What made you start this? What made me start what? Films. I think I answered that. How to critically analyze a film? Like, while understanding the metaphor, sometimes we miss out on many things. So how do we make out of it? So I think that's a very good question, because critically to be able to look at films is the first thing in the step of becoming a filmmaker. To be able to understand it correctly, I feel like the first time that one should see it, should see it with their complete intuition and heart. You know, one should not look at things, but it comes back to you. You know, you ask yourself what stayed with you and why. Like, what is it? Like, you may have seen something at home, some kind of injustice, some problem at home, or something like that, and you saw it and you're like, oh, this happened to me, you know. And yeah, so firstly, what it does to you, ask yourself why did it do what it did, and then ask yourself, then maybe go into the history of the film. I would really recommend that once you watch a film, write down what the film meant to you, and then read about the film, read about the filmmaker, film critical analysis. And if you have people to discuss the films, there's nothing like it. One more thing that a film school does is it gives you people to discuss your films with, you know. So it's a good space to be in, like that. What is the difference between documentary, docudrama? Documentary is not fiction. It does not have fiction elements. Docudrama may have fiction and realistic approach together. What is your film preference? Documentary films or commercial films? I mean, fiction films, and no commerce is, it happens because you make a good film. Documentary film, this is one of the films I've made. I've made a couple of fiction films as well. But because you guys are from Bombay and I thought this fits, so I am not a documentary filmmaker. I would like to practice fiction and also documentary and merge these two and present it commercially, you know. So yeah, okay. So what was the most difficult part for you while making this documentary? I think I've answered that. What if the viewers don't like your work, don't appreciate your hard work? Then how do you overcome that? After a point, it should not matter. Like, you should hear it and then if somebody is saying a constructive thing, if you feel like, oh, maybe you're right, this is true, then it stays with you, and you see, okay, what could I have done differently? But if it's just like mujhe achhi nahi lagi, though, this is no criticism. It's just that you don't like it because you have a certain conditioning, and I can't do anything about your conditioning, right? So it doesn't matter. I don't take it to heart. I love if people understand the film and appreciate it. And I love constructive criticism and feedback, and kya kuch theek nahi laga, ya kya usme, what is the idea, what is the depiction mein koi problem hai, ya my shot taking is problematic or something like that. I would take it with full arms open. But mujhe film achhi nahi lagi, matlab, okay, good for you. It's all right. I can't do much about that. What is the hardest thing to capture and depict it the way you want to while filming something? Hardest thing, I think a dream is a really difficult thing to pull off, because we are so conditioned to even depict a dream on screen that we depict it very weirdly. Like, we'll have blur stuff around, and it'll be kind of counterproductive to do that. I think a dream is very difficult. I think all of cinema is a difficult medium, yeah, because there are so many things. Like, I may make a good documentary, but it's not necessary that I can make a good what, for example, Vikramaditya Motwane or Anurag Kashyap did in Sacred Games. I don't know if I can pull off a document like a through and through drama like that. It's very difficult to pull those off. I don't know if I can ever do what Mr. Bimal Roy did in his films. And so there are different genres, different styles of films, different style of filmmaking. Each has a school of its own. So yeah, I mean, a dream, anything. I think everything is difficult to pull off. But personally, fiction and, like what somebody said, docudrama, fiction, non-fiction ka jo blurring hai, that really works well for me. Okay, is there any short film or movie that you feel is underrated, everybody should watch it? Okay, just give me a minute. I'll come back to this. I'll tell you what. So what is a perfect start for a person who wants to be in industry? How shall she prepare themselves? And what is the most important thing that a person must remember besides dedication? I said watching films is utmost important. Experiencing a big set is important. Going to a big set, seeing the process of making a film. Like, you may think कि मैं ऐसे बना लूँगा, ऐसे change हो जाएगा, ऐसे हो जाएगा. To see how a film is made is very important. And then just once you start seeing and you start realizing what you want to say, then I think writing and saying what you have to say is very important. What is your main objective while watching the film? Just to feel and experience intuitively. What difficulty you have faced while shooting? Sorry, 1 minute. Shooting in local area? Not much. People see a camera, they are nice to you. People see a camera, they can be really like angry and suspicious. It's how you deal with it. So sometimes people fight, but you tell them that you've come from FTII or your intentions are right and whatever. So it's not local area में मुझे कोई दिक्कत नहीं हुई थी ऐसे. It is said that there are only 8 to 12 stories. It's all been done before and we have seen it all. So how do we keep it fresh? Is there a thing we can subvert the process to keep it? Yeah, your own point of view. Like, if firstly, I don't know if there are 12 stories. There may be 12 plots, but there are infinite stories. You waking up to you ending your day. It's a story in itself, infinite stories. So one can't say that there are 12 stories, there may be 12 plot lines. But what you do, what you bring to it is what makes it original. And that's why films will keep getting made, because people bring their own kind of their point of view to a film. What are the things which a director should always remember? That you have to basically not, even if you doubt yourself, you have to pull the ship through. You have to be the captain of a ship. So if you have to pull it through, even if you are doubtful of yourself, minimize the doubt in yourself, and deliver and trust people with their collaboration. When you're collaborating with someone, just trust them. Yeah, they come with their own sensibility. What have you faced writer's block? Every time. I think everybody faces it. It's good, it's healthy, I think. So what is your main target motive that you want to display to the audience? Yeah, I think I want to make films about society. I think I want to be a filmmaker who's not social issues, like a filmmaker who's closely associated with where I live, people who make my society, my country, and I want to make things about them. I think that's. What is your main target motive that you want to display to the audience? Target motive? There's no one target motive. If you're asking about this film, as I said, art and how art is used to deal with discrimination. Would you like to say something like what is the difference between today's time movie, old time movie? I think I discussed that, Vishal. Like I can share, there are a lot of cuts now because the ad filmmaking has become a lot हावी हो चुका है एक तरीके से. Our attention spans have gotten down. We pick our phones up and we kind of, in a theater, we start listening and watching things on our phone. So the cuts have become more. You as an audience want to be engaged, and that was not the case earlier. You as an audience wanted to experience. Like that's why Gurudutt was able to make a Pyasa, and it worked. People's attention spans were smaller. So, what are your thoughts on film adaptations? Film adaptations are usually criticized for not keeping it true to the novel book. So, what would you say is a good way to make a film adaptation? Okay. Good way of making a film adaptation. I think when people say the book was nice and the film is not nice, a lot of times what is happening is that you're free to imagine. You're free to imagine yourself. And a film restricts the imagination. So I feel the only thing that one can really do to overcome that is to be able to bring your own truth to the film. If you're making a film based on an adaptation, bring your truth and it'll work. I think it'll work for sure. So, yeah, bring your own truth to an adaptation also. I think it'll work. Bring your own lives anecdotes, bring your own experience of life. I think it should work. Okay, like as we discussed in the early part of the session, that was about dreams and putting subconscious into that reality. I said dreams make a part of our reality as well. Dreams, memories are all a part of our reality. Don't you have like sitting here, aren't you a product of your memories? aren't you sitting here and what you faced as a child or what you have felt, aren't you a product of that? Every word that you speak comes from that. So what, according to you, should be strategies to attain mass market or acceptance viewership for short films? Short films, I think if you want to appeal to a mass, then you have to make it engaging. You have to make it engaging. You have to pick up stories that may be engaging. You have to pick up thriller genres that may be engaging. Like, form of a thriller is very engaging. Like, that's why a film like what do you call it, Parasite works. And yeah, what are the points to be covered while making a suspense mystery film? You don't tell the audience what they have to know till the end, or you tell them and you don't tell them, and that's, you play around with an audience like that. I think that should work. So what is your main aim while making a film? I think I discussed this, Akshat. Like, I want to be a filmmaker who makes films about my people, where I am, what struggles they have to go through, what every day, if I travel in a local, then if I see people sticking to each other, and like, what does it do for me? Like, what does it depict? It depicts resilience, and resilience is a beautiful trait of the human spirit. So things like that I want to make. What difficulties have you faced while shooting in local area? I think I answered this. So I'm writing a story on horror, murder, mystery. According to your opinion, what point should I focus in that story? Horror, murder, mystery. I have never worked on this here, so I may not be a very good person to talk to this about. But I would, again, what I spoke about mystery is all about giving information and keeping information in different parts of the film. Like, you misdirect the audience, and then they come back, and then you misdirect and stuff like that. So yeah. So over the years, many changes came in this field. Do you think that there is very much changes came in filming old movies and new movies, which is one of the major change in it? I told you, the introduction of a jump cut. It's a big change. The realization of slow cinema, the realization that cinema is like dreams. These are big, big things that have happened. And yeah, I think all of the changes that have happened in the idea of edit, in the idea of lens, like how you see a film through a lens, is very significant. What do you think about the absence of music in films? How do you still make it impactful and thrilling? I think sound design really does that. Sound design is not just like in my film. It is not, if you saw that, it's not just what is inside the frame. It may be what is outside the frame, and yet it is engaging so significantly because there's a presence. What I said about the presence of time, our brain starts to really take it into account. So music can be done away with in cinema. Yeah, I hope that answers all your questions. I wish I could see all of you. I'm just taking a few screenshots so that I can share it. I wish like I could see you guys, but nonetheless, I think if another time I get to see you guys, then it'll be nice. And thank you so much for calling me, Rima ma'am and Sir Principal Sir. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I would like to thank the college, VP Varda College of Commerce and Economics, and Shri Sitaram and Lady Shantabai Patkar College for inviting me, and the Film Society. Thank you. Just keep watching films. I think that should work. Yeah. Just keep watching films. Thanks a lot. Thank you. Thank you, guys. See you. Actually, is there anybody else who wants to ask something? I can still answer stuff if you want. Okay, thank you guys being very nice. Thanks a lot. Thanks guys. Thank you.
Okay, am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay. Firstly, I would really appreciate the time spent by Mr. Aranya Sahay for imparting his expertise, his experience, and in-depth knowledge about films, short films, and whatever
Ma'am, there may be a glitch in your.
have learned through his journey in FTI and the major participation that he has always he got to learn. So thank you so much
Thank you, ma'am.
that you
You're a little inaudible,
spend your
ma'am.
most precious, valuable time of 2.5 hours with our students. I did not get the chance, but I would also like to inform this thing to Aranya sir as well, that this has always been a part of something called as Silver Screen Festival.
Some of you asked some questions again. So till Kinjal ma'am comes, I can just address those. Gaurav has asked, sir, old movies of Charlie Chaplin made such an impact on audience without any music vocals. But in today comedy movies, we can get the same kind of impact. Yeah. Watch Charlie Chaplin. Watch Buster Keaton. It's visual comedy. Na? You see something, you don't see something. Something happens. It's quite interesting. Um, let's just wait for Kinjal ma'am to come back. There was one more question I saw. It was about editing. Hello, ma'am.
Hi, Aranya. How are you?
Good, good. I hope
Okay.
the question was
Yes,
good.
yes, very much. I mean, there were a lot of interactive sessions asked by students.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think
But
the last one was Charlie Chaplin one. Is there anyone else who wants to ask anything?
there's one, there's Anway who asked kids to become a film editor. Uh,
Yeah.
Again, watch films. Firstly, everything starts by watching films, and then go on to learn Adobe Premiere Pro or any of these softwares, and start applying what you are seeing in a film onto footage that you may shoot on your own. Simple stuff if you can apply. I think that practice itself makes a good editor. Start seeing movement, how people are cutting on movement, how they would be cutting on sound. It's very important to see how things are cut on sound and stuff like that. So yeah, that's it.
Anyone else with any question? I think no, we can wind up then. Okay, so first of all, thank you so much, Aranya. It was a very interactive session. I understand there were technical glitches as well as, when you have a one-on-one session with the students, it becomes more impactful when you can see the students, when you can interact with them personally. Trust me, I miss the same thing right now because with all this online stuff, you are not able to see your students as well as there is no personal connection. But I'm sure whatever you shared, whatever you were able to, convey to them, I'm sure they have understood that. And your examples, the examples that you showed, like the battleship of Potemkin and all of these things, so some of it has been already discussed with them, so they can connect. Because usually when their teacher tells them, they don't understand, but if someone from the industry comes and tells them, they surely understand the importance. So thank you very much. It was a really nice session. It was very interactive, very a lot of information was shared from your end also. So on behalf of my principal, Dr. Shrikant Sawan, my CEO, Dr. Mala Kharkar, my chief coordinator, Ms. Ruchita Rane, my faculties, Kinjal ma'am and Sunil sir, and all my dear students, I take this privilege to thank and express my gratitude towards Aranya as well as Avni for arranging this webinar, at a very short period of notice, for managing everything, for all the demo sessions you attended. Thank you very much for taking your time out of that busy schedule and giving it to us. Okay, and it was, thank you. We really appreciate your efforts. And probably when everything is normalized, everything is okay, we will surely call you here and we can have a session with students. Okay. Yes.
Thank you so
And
much. Thank you so much for calling me. I mean, it was really nice because, I mean, it is not normal to answer questions on chat.
Exactly.
But yet, like, there were some really interesting questions.
Yes.
I absolutely love. There was one question, ma'am, which I didn't answer. I just remembered. It was a film about somebody had asked about what is the most underrated film that they want to see.
Yeah.
They should see. I completely hate this. Like when you're asked about one film, then you can't.
There are many things. Yeah, there are many things,
Yeah.
and you feel blank at that particular moment.
But I'll share it with you, ma'am, if I feel.
Yes, sure.
If you can share it with them.
Yes, yes. So sir will share it with us, and then I can forward it in all the groups.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would also like to thank a few of my students. As you know, usually SSFS is something that is, done on a very large scale. And this year, because of the pandemic, we had to do it online. And we had actually planned this in July. And plan kar karke, now we have finally reached to this national webinar. And there are many students who have worked hard for it. So I would like to thank all of my students. I would start with Omkar Vadekar, the chairperson, Omkar Vadekar, as well as Saili, the digital creatives, Parth and Shweta from TY, the PR, Siddhant and Priyanka Nadkar, social media team, Priyanka Nadkar, Ayushman, and also Tejas Wagmare. I would like to thank the technical team, Omkar Jadhav and the entire team. I mean, these are just the HODs, but I would really like to appreciate the entire team. We are not connected right now physically, but you are sitting at your home and you're working for the department. That's a really good thing. Okay, so I really appreciate the hard work done by all of you. Last but not my list, not the least, Chinmay Kadam and Unan Mule, who are always here and there, shuffling between all the departments and being the point of contact if things are not falling in place. So thank you so much. Thank you, Ninand is here only right now. He's just saying ki main iska naam kab lungi. So thank you, Ninand. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here. Same thing with Omkar Jadhav and Siddhant as well. I'd also like to thank Kinjal ma'am as well as Sunil sir for being that support system all the time. Whenever I fall short, you guys are there to help me out, to work things out with me, and it really means a lot to me. Last, again, not the least over here, I would like to thank Sameer sir from IT department, Professor Sameer Kamble. He's always been there whenever I need him, whenever we have issues, technical issues, he's always there. Even though he's taking the lectures, he's always present to help. So thank you, everyone. And my dear students, thank you. I know it's cozy out there, attending the lecture. So thank you very much, and I'm sure you will have a great evening. Thank you. Oh yeah, please wait for the feedback form. Sunil sir will be sharing the feedback form in the YouTube link right now. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Thank you, Aranya. Thank you, Avni, if she's listening to me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, Avni. Thanks a lot.